All right. One of the things that a lot of people have been interested in what we do is how sensory events work, like how you prepare for them before the event, what happens during the event, and what happens afterwards. And now, given COVID as a factor, we have two kinds of sensory events, which is the real-time face-to-face sensory event. It's usually a fairly small block of time that's allocated for the event, and then there's another one, which is maybe it's a hybrid. It could be all virtual, or it could be some face-to-face time, but it's spread out over a longer period of time to reduce crowding and a lot of interactions. So we're learning from that kind of forced circumstances. And Emily, as a person at the Dallas Museum of Art, you've been doing this for a long time. Can you tell us just sort of give us a sketch of the whole experience?
Sure. So we first started our Sensory Day events a little more than 10 years ago now with you, Tina. Um, we used to call them Autism Awareness Family Celebrations. Um, and, since forming the Sensory Consortium, we've changed names, but they're still very similar in form. It's a select day or days during the year where the museum opens 2 hours early for visitors on the autism spectrum and their family members. We cap the attendance at 500 people, and we've had events that totally sell out in the past. I think it really speaks to there being such a need for this, in our community and really in all communities. The event is free, and we really think about it as being a great introduction to the museum environment, a really fun open house. There's a lot of preparation that goes into these events. We work with an autism specialist. We normally work with an autism specialist to help design some of the activities that we have available. We also work with our constituents, our guests who have autism, to consult with them about, the activities that we're offering. And of course, we work with you and your students and with the Nasher and the zoo and the rest of the Sensory Consortium now to come together and put on these really fun events. We set up all sorts of activities that are based around a specific theme. And the theme is just kind of a fun way for us to organize the activities. So in the past, we've done things like rock and robots or under the sea. And we try to create just a lot of different fun activities where people can choose what fits their needs and their interests and really explore at their own pace. So most of the activities, will be in the art studio or in our interactive space. Things like, art making activities that are a little bit more guided. We also always have materials where people can kind of just explore and play on their own, things that encourage socialization between kids, sensory bins, things full of kinetic sand, outdoor space with hula hoops and parachute, all sorts of fun things. And then we have some scheduled events like an interactive story time in the galleries, or we have a music therapist who comes and leads an interactive, musical time with the kids. We really, kind of like I said before, we really try to provide a lot of options for kids, knowing that, no one is the same. There are sensory seekers and sensory avoiders who come to the event and that are, that have different interests and different needs. So we try to really provide as many opportunities as possible for people to find something that connects with them and makes them feel, welcome and engaged in the museum. Linda, do you want to talk a little bit about our adaptations in the time of COVID or what we're doing right now?
Sure. Obviously, safety is paramount to our visitors. And so we want to respect that and make sure that none of the materials are touched between visitors just to keep them safe. So as a consortium, we developed our sensory totes, which are super cute, and we'll have some pictures to show. And they are aids and tools that can be used beyond obviously our center, and can be used at the zoo and other places that they would go. And we've developed activities related to some of those things. Like we have binoculars so they can do some close looking activities and scavenger hunts with them. We also have like little wristbands to let others know if they're feeling comfortable about having people approach them or not. Trying to think, what else do we have besides the binoculars?
The communication
Timer.
cards and the timer.
Oh, the timer. Yeah. So we have some time so they can do sketching if they want with that, or maybe you can assign them a task and they've got a minute to complete it. And so sometimes those things are really fun for them. But in addition to that, all of us have sheets related to our own institution included in that tote. So maybe 3 or 4 sheets of various things, depending upon, like you said, if they're feeling more like doing gross motor things or fine motor when they're in our spaces. And they also can get a peek view of what's available at some of the other institutions. So maybe they would take that tote to those other locations, which is nice. So trying to think, when we have our sensory events at our spaces, because we don't have parking underneath, the DMA obviously graciously offers that to families, but we also offer valet parking for those that may be an insurmountable thing otherwise. We want everyone to feel like it's super accessible to come to our space. And they're usually greeted with their sheet that has all of the activities listed on it and a map of where they can go and find each of those activities. We have the Dallas Library having story times that with interactive. We have an obstacle course, usually in our Nasher Hall, that is operated by TWU students. And also TWU students have developed several activities that are throughout our garden spaces, be it a puzzle that they have to put together, or when we had Camp Nasher, they had a marshmallow toss, which was super fun. Picture taking, just all kinds of ways to relate to the environment and also get to play and interact with others. For the Sensory Haven area, we had tents because with Camp Nasher, you had to go have a tent. And they had flashlights in that space to kind of add to the whole theme of it. But we also offer snacks because ours happens in the afternoon after school. So they may need just something to bridge them over. So we had s'more making one year with that Camp Nasher theme. So trying to make it a fun event and an easy, relaxed time for parents and children to just get to create a new memory.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. And in our next video, we'll pick back up and talk about some of the nuts and bolts and the pragmatics behind setting up those events. So
Great.
thank you.